This video is supported in part by Retro Days, a place for nostalgia nerds to gather, share memories, chat, and engage. Go to retrodays.com or check their YouTube channel linked below.
There are a lot of bad drivers out there. I mean, a real lot. And I'm pretty confident that almost all of us have, at one time or another, wished we could, actively make our displeasure known. Well, that wish was made real, at least on paper, by a tabletop game called Car Wars, and it was brought to you by Generation X.
Don't you know that you're a grown up? No games, no puns. Not allowed if you're a grown up.
Hi, and welcome to GenXGrownUp. My name is Mo, and I am a Gen X grown-up. Car Wars was created by Steve Jackson and Chad Irby back in 1980, and in the game you get to create the ultimate offensive vehicle. Not offensive like this, but like this. You then try to survive the dangerous streets and highways of the not too distant future. The inspiration for the game came from a short story by Alan Dean Foster called Why Johnny Can't Speed that's included in one of his early anthologies called With Friends Like These. Hey, before we get too deep, we'd really appreciate it if you just hit that button and subscribe to our channel. That way you'll be notified whenever we drop another video. Okay, let's get back to Car Wars. I first encountered Car Wars at the Complete Strategist in New York City, which, as you probably heard me mention, a zillion times already, was like a second home to me. The original game was actually sold like in a Ziploc bag for about $5, but eventually moved over to using these small plastic containers, and we used to call them pocket games or micro games because you could easily bring them anywhere to play. The basic game came with a rule book and cardboard counters to represent the various vehicles and road hazards. But I honestly don't remember if the original version came with a map or if you had to supply your own graph paper. If anybody out there happens to remember, please drop me a comment and let me know. But what I do remember is that later you could buy extensions and expansions that came with like pre-made roads and arenas that you could play in. One of the beauties of the game was that you could play all sorts of different types of missions. I mean, it could be anything from, destroying all the other players in a armed version of a demolition derby, to dealing with, random encounters between cities as you work as a courier transporting goods, or even setting up missions as like multi-stage where you get limited abilities to like rearm and repair your car as you continue down this long trip. Now, the gameplay itself was just complex enough to appeal to that nerd in us, and had rules on vehicle handling, weapons, armor, and the drivers. You use charts and dice rolls to see the results of the action you want to perform. For instance, suppose you want to perform some maneuver in your car. Depending how fast you're traveling, how difficult the maneuver is, your skill as a driver and the car itself, there's a chance you could lose control, and depending on your dice roll, you may just fishtail a little, or totally lose control of your vehicle to disastrous results. And you had to think about all of this while trying to maneuver your vehicle for that perfect kill shot while not getting killed yourself. While Car Wars wasn't a role-playing game on the level of like Dungeons & Dragons, it had enough of the elements to really make you feel vested in the cars and the characters. I played and enjoyed Car Wars for years, and I think it's because they were able to keep like a steady stream of expansions coming out, to add just a ton of variety to the core game. As a matter of fact, they came out with over 100 expansions covering everything from designing like trikes to 18-wheelers to tanks, and they even expanded the role-playing. There was even a magazine called Auto Duel Quarterly that gave you expanded rules, adventures you can play, and fiction set in the world of Car Wars. And I think that's why I love this game so much. I mean, they created this alternate world with a history and personality, then set a game into it. The popularity of Car Wars fell during the 1990s, but thankfully it had a resurgence in the 2000s with reprints of the original game and a number of really successful Kickstarter projects. And that just goes to show you that, this fan base is still alive and well. In putting together this video, I thought a lot about why did I love this game so much and why do I have so many memories of playing with my friends. And I think it comes down to, with about $5, some dice, a pencil, and graph paper, my friends and I could transport ourselves to a world where the right-of-way went to the biggest guns, and it was brought to you by Generation X.
Hey, you made it to the end. If you liked this video, the best way to say thanks is to watch one more. Here are a couple suggestions that you just might enjoy. And if you love our content, maybe consider becoming a Patreon supporter by following the link on screen.
Unacceptable for grown-ups.